This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Thursday as we welcome you in here to Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network. Stormy Buonantony alongside Mike Somich today. JVT getting a couple well-deserved days off here. Mike, happy to work with you today. How are you, my friend?
I am doing good. I'm living the Stormy Buonantony life. I'm jumping from show to show to show here. It's just one thing after another in Derby week for me here, but I now understand what it's like to be Stormy.
Dude, you are rolling right now. Just wrapped up VSiN at the track, so getting set for all things Kentucky Derby, which, yes, I will let you. The floor will be yours for several moments today as we dive into all of the Derby talk. Very excited about that. Although, I did want to check with you. We've got a couple early scratches here already. Is that disappointing as an avid horse bettor like yourself that we're not going to get the full field that we wanted?
Well, we're still going to get 20 horses. We've got 24 that entered this year, so more than normal. So with the scratch, the number 13 and the number 20, full effort scratch this morning, we've got the 21 and 22 who are in on the also eligible list. So we can still take 2 more scratches and still have 20. So hopefully we don't deal with that. Hopefully we're done with scratches. The silent tactic didn't hurt me too much. I thought full effort could have won the race. It was 20-1 on the outside there. So I was bummed this morning at about 25 texts, including one from Adam Burke telling me, hey, you got to update everything you wrote for the guide. So we got that done this morning, and hopefully it's just smooth sailing from here, Stormy.
That is a great reminder. The Kentucky Derby betting guide out and available as part of our Triple Crown special, where today is the last day to get involved in that bad boy. So we'll talk all things Derby a little bit later on the show. We do have plenty of Major League Baseball that's going on right now. 6 games in action. Already saw Juan Soto home run bettors getting ticked off for a James Wood robbery that we had in the Nationals-Mets game. Our producer Justin is angry about a Chris Bassett prop. So it's 11 o'clock-ish Pacific time right now, and we've already got sweats going, including, by the way, the golf Cadillac Championship underway. Jordan Spieth as your standalone early leader, 7 under through 11. So lots to keep tabs on and lots to preview. So let's set the table like we always do here on Money Moves. Time for the rundown.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is the rundown.
So we've got a couple great guests on deck today, Mike. We already mentioned the Derby, and David Aragona is going to join us in hour 2 as well to discuss that a little further. Plus, in 15 minutes, we said baseball in action right now. Former MLB catcher Chris Jimenez is going to join us. Make sense of some of the teams that are trending up and trending down right now, as well as the games that are set to come a little bit later on today.
Yeah, look, baseball has been wild through the first month of the season. You've got teams like the Braves who are just hitting the cover off the baseball. It's the Braves we expected 2 years ago. You've got teams like the Red Sox, one of the hottest teams before the season started, who has been absolutely awful. So we'll talk to Chris there and find out what he makes of some of these teams and whether or not it's a good time to bet any of them to either win their division or hit their win totals.
Yeah. Well, we're in the thick of it for the MLB season. We're in the playoffs in the NBA and NHL. And last night, how about the Rockets and Pistons both staving off elimination for another day? This, despite, by the way, the Lakers getting Austin Reeves back on the court, wasn't enough to close out the KD-less Rockets. So much to get into, not only with those games, but then looking ahead to tonight, some potential closeout games as well.
Look, I bash the NBA playoffs more than most. I think the first round is usually absolutely pathetic. You've got these 4 and 5 game series left, right, and center. There's not much interest. We've got 6 game 6s this year.
Yes.
Mike was wrong about the NBA playoffs. They have been fun this year. They haven't touched the NHL playoffs still, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a second here, but hats off to the NBA playoffs. Been on the TV every single night.
Tonight should be a good one as well. So Knicks and Celtics want to end it tonight if they can, but they'll have to do so on the road. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're back at home, but the Nuggets are 5.5-point favorites because there's no Anthony Edwards and Dante DiVincenzo. So how is that thing going to play out tonight? Should be fun, no doubt about it. That said, we have buried the lead for long enough here today, Mike. How about the action on the ice last night? And I want to start here in Vegas. Although we had 2 games go to overtime yesterday, all 3 of them decided by a single goal. Flyers win in advance, but the Vegas Golden Knights go from down 2-1 in the series to now up 3-2. Game 6 coming up in Utah on Friday after what was a double overtime extravaganza. And we close things out, 5-4 when all was said and done last night? Shout out Brett Howden with the game winner.
How are you not entertained? If you were watching this Utah-Vegas series and you don't like hockey, I don't know what's wrong with you. Okay, you mentioned it. Utah up 2-1. Game 4, Vegas jumps out to a 3-0 lead. Utah comes storming back. Vegas forces OT. They get the job done in overtime. And then you fast forward to this game. It's 1-0 Utah. It's 2-1 Utah. It's 3-2 Vegas. All of a sudden, it's 4-3 Utah. And we get a goal in the final minute to cap the hat trick, nonetheless, to force overtime. You're like, okay, this is going to be a fast overtime. There's been 8 goals. No, sir. We got to go through a full 20 minutes of scoreless hockey to be able to get to the second overtime. Just as the kids say, cinema. I don't know what more you're looking for here from the NHL playoffs if you're not enjoying this Utah-Vegas series.
I know from my standpoint, too, for the goaltending with Carter Hart, I'm watching this game. I'm feeling critical. I'm wondering why John Tortorella continues to believe in this guy and constantly talking about how he's going to work his way out of it. And then he shows up the way that he does in overtime. And you're like, okay, well, I guess I see it there. And you mentioned the hat trick, Pavel Dorofeev, especially for him because he was so slow starting when it came to the goals this series after leading the Vegas Golden Knights in goals throughout the regular season. He also was second in the National Hockey League in power play goals, hadn't had one. He gets one last night. And for this Golden Knights team, the veteran experience, I feel like maybe to an extent started to show up late. And after the game, John Tortorella was talking a little bit about Vegas kind of finding their confidence right now. Take a listen.
We're a really good hockey team. I think when they, you look at these athletes and they're strong, they're athletic, they're at the top of their game, but they have confidence problems sometimes. You'd never think they would, but they do. And I think they regain their confidence. I think they realize how good they can be. You can tell they never feel they're out of a game. So for me to sit back and watch it, it's a good locker room. It's a really good locker room. And when you win and you win in playoffs, the locker room has to self-sustain. It doesn't come from the coaches. It has to self-sustain themselves. And I think we have the makings of that.
And, Mike, it feels like they've just kind of had that killer instinct late that Utah hasn't had. And if you're a Mammoth fan or backer, you're really frustrated because Game 4, you have a lead with 10 minutes to go. Last game, obviously, you're up with in the final minute of regulation. You end up having to go to double overtime and lose. Now the question is, what happens in Game 6 coming up? Does Vegas close it out? In your eyes, do the Mammoth force a Game 7? How do you see this?
I mean, I had Utah last night. It was pretty frustrating.
I'm sorry.
Lie, with the way that one turned out. I think this is just a coin flip series. I mean, we've seen the last 2 games basically be coin flips. I like Utah in Game 6. I think that they're going to come out, play well at home, be able to force a Game 7 here. I love the young talent that we've got on Utah, how fast they're able to play with the puck. But this Vegas Golden Knights team, I think you've got to give them credit here for what they've been able to do. Before the season, they were one of the favorites to be able to win the Stanley Cup. And you look at their regular season and how inconsistent they were, how they had these stretches where it looked like they don't even deserve to be in the playoffs, let alone be a Stanley Cup contender. And then for them to be able to come out in moments of real adversity. We mentioned Game 4, when you go up 3-0 and then you give up that lead, to be able to have the chutzpah, to be able to just come back and tie that game and then grind it out and win in overtime, to give up a goal lead, and then be able to come back and tie it up in the final minute and win in overtime. You're seeing that veteran presence, that leadership, that the fact that no moment is too big for this Vegas Golden Knights team really shine through. I think Utah wins Game 6. I think you're going to see one of those classic first 10 minutes in a home barn is going to be absolutely chaotic for the Golden Knights. I think that the Golden Knights get it done in Game 7, though. And okay. They've got a real shot at being able to make a run here, too, because I don't love anyone coming out of that Oilers-Ducks series. And that means that the winner of this series, in my mind, is in the Western Conference Finals. And then you're waiting on Colorado or the winner of that Dallas-Minnesota series, which is going to be a real test. But the Knights have enough talent to answer that and to pass that test. The question is, can they get themselves there to be able to give themselves the opportunity when they're playing their best hockey?
I'm in total agreement with you, and I think that the odds board would indicate as much as well. When you look at the Western Conference right now, Vegas second shot on the board, Colorado, you're plus 110 favorite still, but the Golden Knights sitting there at plus 330 because you imagine like the way that this Anaheim-Edmonton series has gone, if Vegas gets out of this thing, they should be able to handle business in that one, as you said. They're minus 450 to win this series, minus 120 favorites coming up tomorrow, but like you said, if you like Utah, even money on the dog tomorrow out there at Delta Center. Also, The Flyers defeat the Penguins 1-0 in overtime to advance. We know now they're going to face Carolina in the second round. Vladar with a 42-save shutout. Cam York, his first career playoff goal, comes in overtime. He chucks the stick into the stands as well. That goal came 77 minutes and 32 seconds into the game. It's the latest first goal scored in a playoff game more than 20 years.
It's not like there wasn't action in this game either. There were 25 shots in the first period. These two teams were consistently getting scoring opportunities. Vladar just stands on his head for Philadelphia. Yeah. He was phenomenal all game. Second shutout of this series. This was the final series that did not have an overtime game in the first round as well, Stormy. All 8 series have at least one overtime game. Just the 5th time that we have seen that happen in the NHL playoffs.
I felt good about myself after this one, too, because ESPN, before all of the series, they have all of us that are working the games put out our picks for each set. There were only 5 of us that had the Flyers winning this series, period. And I was one of them, and I had Flyers in 6. So I'm pretty proud of myself for this one, the way that it played out. Cashed the plus 140 on the series price as well. JVT was also giving me grief for doubling down on them on the money line last night because he was a Pens guy. But let's get it going. The series price coming up, though, for round 2 in this Eastern Conference matchup, Flyers and Canes. Carolina, minus 330 for the set. Philadelphia plus 260 dog. In the spread, laying 1.5 games with the Hurricanes minus 150. If you want to take the 1.5 plus 125 on the Flyers. Canadians also get the Lightning last night. Crazy finish in that one. So much more to get to, not only in the NHL, but the NBA as well. Stay with us. We're actually talking baseball, though, next. Excited to have Chris Jimenez join us on the program coming up.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
The Kentucky Derby is days away, and VSiN Pro's got everything you need to bet it right. Our Kentucky Derby betting guide includes expert best bets and predictions, DRF Kentucky Derby past performances, and our boy Mike Somich, the Derby superfecta. He hit it last year. No pressure, Mike. And right now you can get all of that plus full VSiN Pro access through the Belmont Stakes and our Triple Crown special, just $14.99. You get Oaks and Derby previews as well, post-draw analysis, race day coverage, daily best bets, real-time bet splits, AI prop tools, and so much more, all the way through the Belmont Stakes on June 6th. Don't wait, though. The offer expires tonight. VSiN.com/subscribe is how you can get more information. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. The aforementioned Mike Somich on the program with us today as we welcome you back here to Money Moves. Stormy Buonantony with you, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. And we've got lots of MLB to discuss today as well. Plenty of games in action right now. Still a few more to come later on this afternoon and evening. And Chris Jimenez, kind enough to join us here on the Progressive Guest Line. You can catch him on SiriusXM MLB Network, host of Loudouts, former MLB catcher. And I want to kind of jump right in here, Chris, because we got so much to talk about. Obviously, a couple managerial changes that have come up this weekend. And for the Red Sox in particular, we go from bad to worse when we get the news that Garrett Crochet is going to be put on the IL for some time. So what's going on over here?
Dude, I mean, sorry, first of all, I shouldn't call you dude, but I cannot believe this last week in Major League Baseball from a managerial standpoint. I mean, everybody and their mother has to be kind of looking over their shoulder at this point, you know, with Alex Cora, who nobody ever thought, until obviously some of this stuff has come out, was in jeopardy of losing his job to Rob Thompson. And you mentioned Garrett Crochet now going on the injured list with a shoulder issue. He doesn't look like he's been really right at any point this year. So that's probably a smart move with where they're at. It just seems like anything that can happen to the Red Sox right now will happen to the Red Sox. I actually had really high hopes for this team coming into the season. They were young. I know they lost Alex Bregman, which it turns out is a way bigger loss than I think anybody really initially thought it would be, because this young group just has not been able to really like take that next step, which it seemed like they were ready to do. They just haven't been able to do it.
Two teams that have really also struggled to start out this season, residing there in the NL East, with both of the Phillies and the Mets sitting at the bottom of the table right now. Do you think this is the next place that we see a managerial change? Or is the Mets manager in trouble here with how this team has started the season?
So obviously that's a great question. And I think it's a really relevant question given everything that has happened this week and kind of what we just started the show off with here, or at least the segment. I would say if I was a betting man, I would say that the Mets want no part of a managerial change right now. They are trying to kind of change the whole mantra of this organization. They want stability there. They want to be able to recruit free agents. Yes, money helps and money talks, but some stability also is a big part of that recruitment and free agent process. And I don't think that they want to fire Carlos Mendoza. At least that's everything that I've been told. Now, if it does get to a certain point where it looks like you can't get so far behind, you can't win a division in April, but you can certainly lose one. And they're coming close to that right now. I think they're 10 games back right now of the Atlanta Braves, who have been on fire. The problem with it is I think it's a stability issue. Is if you fire Carlos Mendoza, number one, what does that look like from a publicity standpoint? Number two, are you listening too much to your fan base and not really taking a deep dive into what's actually going down? Because if you look at this roster, I'm not saying it's easy to see why they are the way they are, but I think there were some significant holes in this roster, and that's more on David Stearns. And this is not a knock on David Stearns by any means, but I don't think you can really pin too much of this on Carlos Mendoza. And I think the same could be said really for the other two managerial changes we've seen, but we all know somebody's got to take the fall for it, and you know what flows downstream. So it's usually that guy that's downstream is the one that takes the brunt of this.
Dropped 16 of their last 19 games, including a 14-2 loss yesterday. They are tied right now in the 5th against the Nationals. See if they can break out of this at least a little bit. You mentioned the Braves, though, and after being held out of the postseason last year, all the injury concerns that they've had, they've been on an absolute heater right now. They're already at 20 wins. Pitching's been lights out. They're scoring more runs than anybody else. How legit and how true of a contender is this team in your eyes?
They're an absolute contender. I actually had them winning the division before the season started because of all the injuries they had last year. They still, in my opinion, had the best team from player standpoint. Walt Weiss was a big question mark. You didn't know how this group was going to respond to what he's done in the past. But I think it's been a very good transition, to say the least. I think this team has endured themselves to Walt Weiss in particular. We had questions about their starting rotation, but the young players, this is the team of any team in baseball that can just pull somebody up from AA and they come up and just absolutely deal the entire season and then become a dude at the big league level. So this team has everything it takes to make a deep run into October. My guess is they go out and get very aggressive too at the trade deadline. And I know a few months away from the trade deadline, but I do think this is a team that has a chance to make a deep run.
Now, I am a huge Cubs fan here, and so the Reds are starting to really tick me off when I look at the top of that division. Right now, they are leading the Cubs. They have a negative 5-run differential at this point. What do you make of this Reds team? Are they going to be able to continue to dance through the raindrops as this season goes longer?
Gosh, that is a great question as well. And my heart of hearts says yes. I love this young team. I love their pitching staff, more importantly. I think their starting rotation is way better than people give it credit for. And it's going to be about health for the Cincinnati Reds. If they can stay healthy, I think they have a legitimate chance to continue to be at the top of this division and really make some noise. But as we've seen in the past, this is a young starting rotation, and they've taken some injuries in the past. So to me, it's all about health with the Cincinnati Reds. If they can stay healthy, they are absolutely going to be in this thing come the end of the season.
Up 4-2 right now on the Rockies, by the way, as well, in early action here, top of the 7th. So I want to follow up on a question that I've asked you in weeks past, because we've seen a little bit of a shift in the utilization of Shohei Ohtani from a pitcher's perspective with the Dodgers. How much does it feel like they are gunning for him to win a Cy Young this year with the way that he's taken out of the lineup on days that he's pitching recently?
Man, you're on it first and foremost, but I think that definitely plays a part in it, right? And trying to navigate everything that he does from a workload standpoint, I also think plays a little bit of a part of it. And I know that's kind of like organizational speak, but I do think that that's a big part of this. It's about to start getting longer days, hotter days. There's a lot on his plate in regards to workload, in the sense that he does both and how you manage that. And I think Dave Roberts and company have done an unbelievable job at managing it to this point. But I'm going to throw something else out there. I'm into the big conspiracy theory world, and I'm wondering if MLB is not maybe cracking down on this a little bit more, because there has been some grumbling from other teams saying that the Dodgers are gaming the system because of what, the rule that Shohei Ohtani allows them to do. It carries an extra pitcher. And I think MLB I have no inside information on this, but this is my conspiracy brain coming out, that I wonder if Major League Baseball has not said that you need to be very smart with how you're utilizing this rule in particular, or we're going to completely take it away. And I think this is maybe the Dodgers' way of at least showing Major League Baseball that, hey, we're willing to comply, but we have a very unique player here. And I personally, not just, the fact that I love the Dodgers or not, I think they should be allowed, and I think any team, obviously, for that matter, should be allowed to carry an extra pitcher if you have a two-way guy like this.
All right, Chris, let's bust out the crystal ball here. We talked about some of those disappointing teams a little bit earlier. We've got the Red Sox, 8 back in the division. The Royals, another team that's disappointed so far this year, 3 back in the division. We've got the Astros, 5 back in the division, and the Phillies and Mets, both at the bottom of the NL East. Of those teams, who's able to make a run back and actually compete for the division, and do any of them actually win it?
So I'll give you the first answer right now. I still am not counting the Phillies out. I just think from a talent standpoint, this team has too much talent. And it's not like they have the Red Sox, AAA manager coming up and taking over their organization from a managerial standpoint. And that's not to take anything away from Andy Tracy by any means, but I'm talking about they have an established veteran, proven manager at the big league level that has now stepped up for Rob Thompson and Don Mattingly. We're talking Mr. Baseball here. So if anybody can get this team on the right track, it's got to be Don Mattingly. And I really believe in the talent. I know they're getting older, but this pitching staff really hasn't pitched up to its capabilities yet. Zach Wheeler is back. Yohan Duran is on the injured list, but is close to getting himself back. Once he's back, that bullpen is whole again. So I'm betting on the Phillies making a run at this. And the other team that I'm really excited about, that they're starting to play better baseball, is the Kansas City Royals. I picked them to win the American League Central. I think they are probably the most complete team in the American League Central. The bottom half of their lineup is going to have to continue to produce, but their starting rotation has been really good. Their bullpen is kind of coming into form. And Bobby Witt Jr.'s only got 2 homers. So at some point, the dam's going to break there, and he's going to become the MVP that he really should be here in the near future. And they're going to play some good ball.
Chris, you're awesome. Thank you so much for the time today. We appreciate you.
You got it, guys. Talk to you guys later.
Yes, Chris Jimenez, always appreciate him joining us here on the show. Make sure you check him out, SiriusXM MLB Network Radio, host of Loud Outs. And you know who is counting the Phillies out, I'll say? Their own fans. You see them on the Jumbotron at the Flyers game last night getting booed at home.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Are the Lakers going to mess this thing up? Are the Knicks finally figuring it out against the Hawks? Just like we have opinions. I know you do too. You got the group chat going crazy. You can put your money where your mouth is right now with Cut, the social betting platform that lets you bet directly against your friends and other users on pretty much anything. Sports, politics, pop culture, even personal bets. And get this, every bet fully customizable and pre-funded, so nobody flakes out on you when they lose. Plus, you get cash back on every single bet you make as well. Use our promo code VSiN right now to get you a 20% deposit bonus on your first deposit. Download Cut today at KUTT.com, or you can find it in the App Store. And again, use that promo code VSiN. Stormy Buonantony, Mike Somich with you as we roll along here on this Thursday edition of Money Moves. And I do want to get into more of the NBA. We've got 3 potential closeout games coming up tonight, but I can't help but wonder what the heck is going on with the Lakers. Are they going to mess this thing up? They finally get Austin Reeves back on the court, taking on a Rockets team that doesn't have KD, and they fall yet again. What is happening?
I don't know. Like last night was supposed to be the night. That was supposed to be the closeout game where you take care of business. You don't have to worry about going back to Houston. Don't have to deal with any of this game 6 stuff where if you lose that, all of a sudden, all the pressure in the world shifts over to this Los Angeles Lakers team. And like you look at LeBron, he's doing everything he can. I'm wildly impressed that he's been able to keep this up this deep into this series and be able to have that workload. But you assume, okay, we got Austin Reeves back. We're going to be able to figure this out. This is going to be okay. It's a Lakers team that just doesn't have answers right now. And it's shocking to watch this as you get Reeves back that you're not able to kind of dispatch of this Rockets team that's now playing pretty good basketball and 100% believes that they can win this series. They expect to go home and win Game 6. They expect to be back in Los Angeles for Game 7. And I honestly think it's going to be back there too. It feels like this is just a situation where the Lakers have missed their opportunity and now going to have to win a Game 7 at home, which is never something that you are a position that you want to be in the NBA.
And again, the Rockets doing this the last couple games without KD as well. We got the news from Shams Charania of ESPN this morning that he's going to be unavailable once again for Game 6. But you mentioned that confidence in terms of the numbers looking ahead to that 6th game coming up in Houston. Rockets are laying 3.5. Lakers still minus 330 with the series, with that potential Game 7 looming back in LA, as you mentioned. But they're put themselves in a really tough situation right now. And for LeBron, I thought this stat was fascinating. Apparently, and I didn't even know this when we were previewing the game yesterday, I probably should have, entered last night having won 16 consecutive home games where his team was in a position to clinch a playoff series. It was the longest streak in the history of the NBA. That streak now snapped. And I do wonder, though, if at least, whether it be this game or the next one, Austin Reeves, first time getting back into the lineup, you're going to have to work a few things out, right? He does have 22 points in 34 minutes, but 4 of 16 shooting, 2 of 8 from 3. He wasn't his fully normal self. We saw Joel Embiid, for example, and obviously it's apples and oranges. They're very different players. But for the 76ers, that first game back from the appendectomy, didn't have the best day. Then he goes scorched earth in the second time that we see him in the series. So do you expect at least him to play better and maybe help the offensive output as a whole? Because they haven't cracked 100 points in either of the last 2 games.
You would sure hope so. And it feels like that's what you're going to need if the Lakers are going to be able to win this series, because I just am not sure where you're going to squeeze any more juice out of this Lakers offense if it's not Austin Reeves, who is able to play better here. But what not only are the players different, the injuries they're coming back from are very different as well. For me, like an appendectomy, you just kind of need to get back in the groove and you're okay. Austin Reeves, he's coming back from an issue that could take more than one game to be able to really get back into the full flow and be able to take on a full workload from an offensive perspective. And that's where the real concern is. Yeah, he should shoot better, but is it going to be a point where he's just able to immediately get back to the AR-15 that we saw at the peak of his powers during the regular season? I think that's a much bigger ask than what we were asking Embiid to do coming off of the appendectomy. So that's where my concern really lies here. And now you got to go home and you got to take on a young team that believes. And the worst thing in sports is when your opponent believes that they can win, believes that they are better. When you had them down and out, you had them just done. They were in the trash can. They were 1-2-3 Cancun. And now they're all of a sudden, the flight got canceled. They're coming back and they want to go to LA instead. I hate this situation for the Lakers. In my mind, if you're playing the Rockets Game 6, you just bet them to win the series. Just take the big plus money and then figure out what you want to do with that Game 7, because you're going to get an in-game opportunity in Game 7. This is not going to be a series that you get a 20-point blowout in Game 7 for the Lakers. This is going to be a situation where if we go back to LA, it's going to be a rock fight and it's going to be a close game.
Yeah, it's a good approach. Also saw the Pistons stave off elimination yesterday against the Magic, 116-109 to force a Game 6. They win, but it's a close game late. Don't cover as a sizable favorite. Great response from Cade Cunningham, too, who drops 45, as does Paolo Banchero on the other side. Meanwhile, the Cavs have to come back from trailing late. They beat the Raptors 125-120. They were down 12 in the third quarter. Come back, but don't cover the 9.5 or higher either. Although I will say, if you were listening to the show yesterday, JVT and Kelly Bidlin both said, I like the Cavs, but I don't like the number. Take the team total over 113.5. So that gets home for you there. Any big takeaways from either one of those 2 series looking ahead?
The Magic have to win Game 6. That to me is like they have to win Game 6. They don't want to go back to Detroit for Game 7. This is their opportunity to be able to close out this series at home. To me, Cleveland, once they got this game taken care of, they're going to win one of the last 2. I'd be very surprised if Cleveland doesn't win that series. It feels like if you're Detroit, you just want to get back to Detroit. And they need to find a way to shoot the ball better. Because if Detroit wants to have any type of run in the playoffs here, they need to hit threes. And it was a problem for them during the regular season. It's been a problem for them here in the playoffs. They need someone besides Cade to be efficient on the offensive side. And without Duren being able to play to the level he was during the regular season, that's a real problem for this Pistons team.
Yeah, I was kind of laughing because so much of the conversation I know we've had on this show throughout the year is like, what do the Pistons have offensively without Cade Cunningham? And he goes out and just like essentially plays 4-2. They don't have a second leading scorer. That's fine. I'll just play like I'm two guys and put up 45, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, and a steal. Just do whatever the team needs. Looking to tonight. So as we talk about 3-point shooting, I feel like that's the whole conversation around the Boston Celtics and 76ers series right now. If the Celtics are making their shots, if they're hitting their threes, they're going to win and cover. If they don't, they won't. Do you see that playing out again tonight in a pivotal game?
When you're putting up 53s a game, it sure feels like that's the most important thing here. And I think Boston goes out and responds well. Yeah, there's a bunch of trends here around this Boston team. When they win by a blowout, they come back, they don't play as well the next game, but then they respond big time the game after that. We're in a situation here where it's that response game. And I think that they didn't expect Embiid to be able to go out and have the game that he did coming off of that appendectomy. I think they're a little more prepared in this game for Embiid and the level that he can play at. I think it's going to be interesting to see if the Celtics decide to go small here and say, hey, Embiid, come guard somebody. We're going to put Tatum at the 5. What are you going to do? You have to dominate defensively or else we're going to just run all over you on the offensive side. I do like Tatum's rebound prop over here. We saw him pull down 14 in game 5. He's gone over 10.5 in 3 of the 5 games in this series. I think he's going to have a big night on the boards again. You can get over 10.5 plus 105 out there. So I'm going to go on Tatum's rebounds tonight in this game. I do lean Boston as well, but haven't gotten to the window on the side.
Yeah, 6.5, that current spread right now in favor of Boston on the road, total 212.5. Some of those 3-point numbers for you real quickly in their wins, 60 of 144, so 41.6% makes. In the losses, 27.2%. So it has been a stark contrast when they are hitting and when they're not, Mike.
Isn't this a situation where if you like the Celtics, you just go and lay an alt? You lay 12.5, 14.5, because if they win this game by 7, don't you expect that means they're hitting threes and that this is just a 20-point Celtics win?
I would think so. And that actually lends me to, I'm curious your thoughts on game 6 coming up for the Knicks and Hawks, because something that has kind of been like based on how this series has gone, when the Knicks win, they win by margin and they're covering big numbers and they're only 2.5 point favorites in this spot. Do you bet some alts there if you think that they finally figured out the Hawks and win? And the games they've lost, it's been when they've been close down to the wire clutch games and they lose by 1. So is that a similar thought process? Not based on 3-point shooting, but just situationally if you like a side?
Yeah, I think with this Knicks team especially, you could make that argument that you go out to 7.5, 9.5, somewhere in that range, because this is a Knicks team that really looked like they were struggling against the Hawks early in this series. But you look at the past 2 games, feels like they've figured it out. They figured out how to play this Hawks team. And I don't know, like one of the most interesting parts about the NBA playoffs is the knobs you turn. In between every game, when you lose, you turn a knob. And then you see what is the difference? How big of a difference does that make? What is your response to the knob the team turned the previous game? I don't know what knob Atlanta has left to turn. I'm not sure how they adjust their strategy in this game to combat what the Knicks have been able to do the last 2. That to me kind of leans toward, okay, the Knicks should be able to take care of business. And if you believe that, play the 2.5, but go play a 8.5 at plus money, right? Find a way to attack the alt market as well. If you think this is just a simple situation of the Knicks have figured this out and the Hawks don't really have a move left.
Total in that game, 213.5 as well. And then the nightcap later on this evening, be Nuggets, Timberwolves out there in Minnesota. Denver, a 6.5-point road favorite, up from the 5.5 earlier this morning. Total 225.5 there. We'll preview this game a little bit later on, but it is an interesting situation. Like if there was one of these series that feels like it's going to go 7, I feel like it would be that one, knowing that Anthony Edwards and Dante DiVincenzo are both unavailable in this spot. Jokic, speaking of figuring it out, he seemed to finally do that last game as well. You hear that music? That means we got to step aside real quickly, but when we come back, get excited, because we're headed back to the ice, ladies and gentlemen. 2 huge games coming up tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You won't want to miss our coverage there. We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
What a banger of a night we had in the National Hockey League yesterday. We'll see if we can carry it over into today as we've got two more potential closeout games, must-wins for the Stars and Oilers, although they both have to do it on the road if they want to extend this thing. Stormy Buonantony, Mike Somich back here with you on Money Moves. And I will say this leading into tonight, Mike, I have the Wild in 6 as one of those like ESPN predictions that we put out earlier. So I would like them to win tonight, just like to be right because it's fun. I have no clue what's going to happen. Half of these series have just been such coin flips, such momentum swings. You never know what you're going to get on a nightly basis.
Yeah, a lot of these series, it feels like every single night you should have minus 120 to minus 125 on the home team and plus 100 to plus 105 on the road team, because you have a slight home ice advantage in every one of these. You want to be in your home barn. You're going to have that momentum. You're going to have the crowd getting behind you. And we're not seeing all of those series priced in that manner. We were talking about Utah and Montreal. They felt like they were just too big of dogs yesterday. That's why I ended up on both of them, ended up going 1-1. But they were both coin flip games. They both could have gone either way. Every one of these Dallas and Minnesota games feels that exact same way to me. And tonight you look at the number, you got Dallas sitting in between that minus 120, or I'm sorry, you have Minnesota sitting between that minus 120 and minus 125 favoritism. And that makes sense. That's what these games should be lined at. These are two exceptionally good hockey teams. I believe these are the second and third best teams in hockey, and they're going to face the best team in hockey in the next round with Colorado. So it's not a game where I want to really get behind it here and pick a side. It's also a situation where, I know you know this, Stormy, I love first period unders. I love them, especially in the playoffs. And it's been incredibly profitable so far in the first round, as long as you're excluding two series. And those are the two series that are going on tonight. You've got the Ducks and the Oilers late, offensive series. You've got the Stars and the Wild. Well, yes, they're good defensive teams. They're very good offensive teams as well. And if you look at the other 6 series that went on in the first round, right now the first period under in those 6 series are 22-7 to the under. So wildly profitable to bet unders. These two series are 1-9 to the under in the first period. They're just stayaways from that perspective because these are really fast-paced hockey games for different reasons. The later game has no defense. This one has just really good offense across the board from 3 lines on both of these teams. I want to bet the over. That, to me, is the one spot here where I'm looking at like 5.5. Kind of feels like this should be 6. Yeah. Haven't gotten to the window yet because I also kind of just want to enjoy this hockey game. This has been an awesome series every step of the way. I can't wait to see what happens tonight. I've got a 25-1 Wild to win the Cup ticket, so I will be rooting for Minnesota. Just not sure I'll be betting that side tonight.
Yeah, I have a Wild future myself as well. To your point, though, about how good this series is and then having to go through Colorado, yet another reason why people are across the nation kind of frustrated with what this postseason format is. But if you are somebody like us that looks at this from a betting perspective and you're like, okay, well, looking through the West, who can come up through the Pacific Division, and it gives you, I guess, some opportunities from a financial standpoint, but a little bit frustrating from a fandom standpoint. And in terms of betting this game tonight, I'm in kind of a weird spot, Mike, because I'm broadcasting the Utah-Vegas game tomorrow night for ESPN. And then I'm on hold for Saturday for one of the potential Game 7s that we might have for Dallas, Minnesota, or Edmonton, Anaheim. So I can tell you my thoughts on the games tonight, but I can't actually put anything in the account on either of one of these games because I'm just like on hold.
Well, first off, I want to address the playoff format here.
Yeah.
I love it. I want rivalries. I want teams to hate each other. I want fan bases to hate each other. I want teams to play every single year in the Stanley Cup playoffs. When I grew up in the 90s, it was, the Norse division in the NHL where the Blues were playing, my favorite team, the Blues, played the same 4 frickin' teams every single year in the playoffs. You had true rivalries. I despise the Chicago Blackhawks. I despise the Detroit Red Wings. I wish we saw that in more sports where you had these 7-game series consistently between the same 2 teams, because to me, it builds the drama. Imagine if the Kings had to play the Oilers again this year and how those 2 fan bases would have felt about it, specifically the Kings. They would have been a little more frustrated. But even this Ducks-Oilers series that we're going to talk about here in a second, if they play again next year, it's going to just bleed over. You got that bad blood, and I love that aspect of sports. I want rivalries in the playoffs.
Well, and that's why Gary Bettman continues to support it the way that he has at this point. And I got to tell you, though, if you're the Kings, it was a worst-case scenario no matter what this year. Either you're playing the Oilers again, who have beat you 4 straight years in the first round, or you have to face the Colorado Avalanche, or the best freaking team in the entire league, and you get swept. So it's, it was a lose-lose for the Kings this year, unfortunately. Poor Anze Kopitar. Before we move on to the Anaheim-Edmonton game real quickly, I did want to point out one prop angle here real quickly. Jason Robertson tonight can set a new Stars playoff record if he scores once again for a 6th straight game in this series. Good note from our friend Jonathan Davis, VSiN NHL betting analyst here at the network. He went through all of the recent series history between these two. Not only has Robertson had 19 goals in 24 games against the Wild and riding the 5-game goal streak, he's scored the first goal in 4 of his last 5 trips to Xcel Energy Center as well. So if you think Jason Robertson can get one in the back of the net again, plus 120 for an anytime goal, 8-1 for the first goal, 4-1 for the first goal scored by Dallas tonight. So some fun potential prop angles, bang for your buck, if you think that Jason Robertson can do it once again tonight. Okay, let's go to Edmonton, Anaheim here real quickly. The Oilers minus 130 road favorites back here in Anaheim after the big bounce back result for them the other night at home. We have had, as you said, overs galore in this series. 7+ goals in 4 of the 5 this set, 7 of the 8 going back to the regular season. First period overs also, even with last game staying under, cashing in every single game. Hence why we are juiced now, Mike. Minus 166 on the over 1.5 in the first period. We have had 3 goals scored in 2 of the last 3, however. So if you do think that we're going to get just a crazy flurry of goals in the first period and you want to look at an alt, you can get plus 190 on the over 2.5. I'm going to stay away from those. But just worth noting, put that out there. What are your thoughts on how things play out tonight?
This is another fascinating game because depth-wise, the Ducks are better. Like the top 3 lines for the Ducks, that the advantage they have in the second and third line, that secondary and tertiary scoring has been huge for them. But you've got these 2 guys named McDavid and Draisaitl who are on the Edmonton side who are able to carry an offense. I thought that Game 5 performance was huge. And this Edmonton team over the last couple of years has been awesome in Game 5s, Game 6s, and Game 7s. That's where they've really made their money in the playoffs. And one of the hallmarks of how Edmonton played the previous 2 seasons was defense. You think of offense when you think about Edmonton, but defensively, their structure was very good. All that being said, give me the Ducks tonight. I think the Ducks finish this off in Anaheim. I'll take them at plus 110. McDavid is still hurt. He had a Herculean effort in Game 5, but he is still injured. If you look at his Game 4 minutes, he played, I think it was like 17 minutes in an overtime game. Wildly low for what you usually see McDavid for him on the ice. I just think this young Ducks team isn't scared. And I think the fact that they have the lead, they get to go into that home ice and get the opportunity to close out Edmonton means you're going to get a really good performance. And they got punched in the mouth. Let's be honest. Absolutely punched in the mouth in the first period in Game 5. I expect them to be ready for that punch in Game 6. And the rest of that game was fairly even outside of that early 3-goal flurry from the Oilers. I think Edmonton gets it done tonight and gets the job done as your slight dog. So the Ducks get it done tonight as your slight dog. I'll take Anaheim at plus 110.
So I didn't have a strong feeling on a side for this game. And I have been someone, Mike, who every time I've had a microphone in front of my face, I've been saying, you're not going to catch me betting an under in this series. And yet, I look at the plus money available on the under 6.5 or the flat under 7 minus 115 range. And I mean, not to the extent of Flyers Penguins last night, but in a game of this magnitude, knowing how actual playoff hockey tends to be played, could we get a more defensive effort out here? Could Connor Ingram show up again the way that he did the other night after getting benched and coming back? He finally looked like the guy who had closed out the regular season playing awesome. Can we get that again? I don't know. Again, I can't make any bets in my account. If I could tonight, it would probably be an under 7 in this one, and it would not be a fun sweat at all. I would probably want to throw up constantly if I had that in my account, knowing what we know about this series, and yet that's the way I feel. Okay, we'll have a little bit more hockey talk that we will get into later on in the program. Also, like a trio of coin flip potential closeout Game 6s coming up tomorrow as well. But as you know, It is Kentucky Derby weekend, ladies and gentlemen. And if you are looking for some live streaming and replays from any of the early thoroughbred, harness, or greyhound track stuff out there, check out RTN.TV, the Racetrack Television Network. RTN has more HD content than any other streaming service and is available on TVs, PCs, tablets, smartphones. You got a Roku? I know I do. Amazon Fire TV, all of it. Just head to RTN.TV, enter our promo code VSIN. That's VSIN. You'll get your first 5 days free to check it all out. Again, promo code VSIN. And I know I am very excited because we're going to talk plenty of Kentucky Derby coming up in the second hour of the program. Mike Somich, I mentioned it earlier. He hit the freaking superfecta last year, ladies and gentlemen. The on-air reaction to that happening, by the way, Mike, unbelievable. It's my own fault that I didn't have that pulled for us today just to relive the moment. But we're going to put your feet down to the fire again. We want this year's superfecta and a whole lot more. Stay with us. We're going to hit it all coming up in hour 2. Money Moves.